What is up, everybody? Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. Thanks for being here. Please click thumbs up, click share, click howdy do ya, click all the things. And we got a hell of a show for you. We got big world events happening. Very important shit going down. That's technical terminology. I learned it from my many years in the news biz. And for right now, right now, I'm gonna bring in Jeffrey Khan. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? More complicated news terminology.
Yes.
Barely decipherable to the average ears.
So some of those years in the news biz I spent with you, and we learned those terms. So,
yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So, yeah, we got a lot to discuss. We're going to spend much of this episode on Syria, not all of it, but we did cover some of the history of Syria in, I think, Thursday's episode, maybe. Or maybe it was Tuesdays, because the so-called rebels, and we'll get to that term more in a moment, but the so-called rebels had taken several important cities, and now, since that time, over the weekend, Syria has essentially fallen to these rebels. Assad has fled to Russia, where he is being given safe haven. And anyway, here is the group that has taken over Syria. This is a tweet reposted by WikiLeaks, posted by the U.S. Embassy in 2017. The group is called HTS, and the tweet is, the core of HTS is al-Nusra, a designated terrorist organization. This designation applies regardless of what name it uses or what groups merge into it. HTS is a merger, and any groups that merges into become part of Al-Qaeda's Syrian network. And then they posted a $10 million reward to stop this terrorist for Mohammed al-Jalani, the head of HTS. So that's who's taken over Syria, and the U.S. is rejoicing.
Yeah, it's like HBO really trying to push this whole Max thing, like rebranding, like we're Max now. It's like, you're always going to be Al Qaeda to us.
Yes, I will never call you Max, and I will never call you anything other than al-Nusra. But we're going to get into some of the nuance of what's going on right now. It's not as clear as just, oh, terrorists have taken over Syria. There are many people in Syria who are rejoicing for their newfound freedom for the moment. Although, let me just bring you this real quick. Where is that article? Because since I mentioned the $10 million reward for the man who's just taken over Syria, Middle East Eye is reporting U.S. officials are discussing perhaps removing the $10 million bounty on the guy that they facilitated taking over Syria. Ahmed al-Shara, commonly known as Jalani, has been designated as a terrorist by the U.S. since 2013, whilst his organization, HTS, which stands for, and I'm sure I'll mispronounce this, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, was prescribed by the Trump administration in 2018 when a $10 million bounty was placed on his head. He has since forced Washington to rethink how it engages with former al-Qaeda affiliates. So yeah, Washington's thinking maybe we'll take the $10 million off, give them a little leeway there.
Yeah, it's all very complicated, I guess.
So, but here's an article from Al Jazeera talking all about how Syrians are rejoicing, and I believe many are. Syrians who fled home, who fled their home, rejoice at Assad's ouster, but many are feeling cautious. Some are saying, here's a quote from one, 20 years old, "Today is the best morning. We feel the biggest joy." And they specifically, Al Jazeera, which is Qatar based, is specifically kind of finding the people who are most excited that Assad is no more in Syria. And I don't think anyone denies that there have definitely been thousands of hundreds, if not thousands, of people kept as political prisoners in Syria. Many people tortured. I don't think there's a lot of people denying that, but there's a lot of nuance to this when it's like, oh, well, now the guy who just beheads people in the streets is taking over. I'm sure it's going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of nuance, but no one in the United States likes nuance. Neither the government nor most of the people like to hear that there's any nuance.
Yeah,
but
they
this
took
is
him
very
off the terrorist list, and they're adding nuance to the terrorist list.
I thought they. Are you sure they didn't execute nuance a few years ago? I thought.
Yeah. I believe that. I think it was at a Polish black site. They secretly executed the concept of nuance.
Yes. But have no fear, everybody. America is coming to help. Biden officials race, this from Washington Post, to help stabilize Syria after regime change. The U.S. has never stabilized shit. All right. Yeah. We are not the people you come to for stabilization.
Yeah, the people of Syria put up a bat signal with the American flag, and we had no choice but to get our troops in there.
It's like turning to a Jello mold during an earthquake to really lock things down, really stabilize things. But yes, the Washington Post will let you know that the Biden administration is racing to. They're also racing to monitor Syrian stockpiles of chemical weapons, which in all likelihood probably don't exist. They certainly were not used at the times that the U.S. says they were used. We know that from the 4 OPCW whistleblowers and excellent reporting that has been done. But even if these stockpiles did exist, I don't know that you'd want the U.S., the country that is dropping more bombs than any country around the world, with the exception of Israel now, but dropping more bombs than just about anybody. We need to have them really monitor and keep safe these stockpile of weapons that could harm people.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a little more on some of what's going on here. Well, hold on. I'm getting some of these notes from Ben Norton and other sources, but Syria has been an international war with multiple countries involved: Turkey, Israel, Iran, Iraq, Hezbollah, the U.S., of course, all heavily involved. And I didn't even get to everybody. Saudi Arabia. In 2011, the protests began in Syria. The CIA, and this is not talked about much. I mean, most people know that the U.S. has some kind of interest in Syria. True idiots believe they're trying to help Syria. But it's not talking about much that the CIA, 1/5 of the CIA's budget, 1/15 has been spent over the past decade on Syria. Like $1 billion a year the CIA spends on trying to flood weapons and sometimes training and sometimes just money into these so-called rebel groups to basically just try and create chaos and obviously to hopefully get Assad out. The U.S. government's wanted that for a long time. But this is $1 billion a year in something called Operation Timber Sycamore, which is essentially never talked about. I mean, you will never see the mainstream media mention Operation Timber Sycamore, which is not even like, you can look it up on Wikipedia. It's not even that hidden, but it can't be mentioned on mainstream media. They've spent all this money arming and training extremist groups. Since 2016, the area of Idlib has been governed by rebranded Al-Qaeda groups of one form or another. Mainly HTS, which, as I said, stands for Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, and they are essentially rebranded Al-Nusra. Al-Nusra is just part of Al-Qaeda, essentially, another Al-Qaeda group. And so this is the U.S. and Israel working heavily with Al-Qaeda, essentially. And there have been many articles, even in mainstream press, going back several years, about Israel helping these fighters, arming them, sometimes even treating them medically. Like when fighters need medical care, Israel is there to help these extremist jihadist groups that they view as positive for them because they want to bring down Assad.
Yeah, we've had a decades-long great relationship with these Sunni Islamists. With just like we had a little rough patch on September 11th, but besides that, let's not let that ruin the whole thing.
No. You don't want to let September 11th get in the way.
One fight.
That's a good thing.
That's it.
And of course, I played clips of, and much of this has come from leaked documents that we've found out of how the U.S. has been working with Al Qaeda. I played clips last week of some of that, of Hillary Clinton talking about it and others. So HTS rebrands as Al Nusra at some point, which is Al Qaeda. U.S. and Israel and Al Qaeda are on the same side against the Syrian government for like a decade. And, now they've gotten what they wanted, but we'll see where this leads now. Israel has been working to overthrow Syria for years. And of course, Iran and Russia and Hezbollah have been helping Syria's Assad stay in power. Now, it's different than what the U.S. is doing because the government of Syria, whether you like them or not, invited Russia in. So that is different than the U.S. giving large arms to just random terrorist groups to see what would happen. And this has gone on for years. But now that the U.S. has, and this was part of the plan, has drawn Russia into a proxy war in Ukraine, drained them in that way. Israel has now preoccupied Hezbollah, or Hezbollah is preoccupied with Israel, and Iran as well, because Israel's committing a genocide. This has meant that Syria was Assad's Syria was kind of left unprotected by those allies, and now Assad has fled. By the way, I just would like to point out that Assad, because he was not supposed to be the leader of Syria, he was the younger son, and Bashar al-Assad, and he had moved to London. He was an ophthalmologist, like an eye doctor, I think. And then the older son dies in a car crash. And basically they bring back Bashar al-Assad in like 94 or something. Back to Syria to take military training and basically to prepare to become president. His father dies in 2000. He then becomes president. I'm wondering if now that he's fled to Russia, is he going to go back to being an eye doctor? Like, do you think he'll re-up his practice? And
yeah, he finally gets to get out of his dad's boring family business and go into his true passion, his true calling.
Do you think he's looking up those old 1994 email addresses, being like, I wonder if any clients still open my old client book?
Yeah, dust off that old resume.
So let's see. So Syria has been this proxy war for years. Obviously, there's been a relative calm over the past few years, but that calm was still in the midst of incredibly destructive sanctions, economic sanctions. And 94%, the UN Rapporteur reported that 94% of Syrians live in poverty or have lived in poverty over the past few years. And it's just destroyed the country. And most people kind of like know this. I mean, the U.S. likes to act like, oh, no, it's all Assad. Well, it's not all Assad. Like, here's an image of destruction in Syria. And I'm not sure which city this is. It might be Aleppo, but just utterly obliterated the whole place. I mean, and this is with help from the United States. Why this? Oh, man, I just closed that tab. But let's see if I can go to history and pull it back up. But yes, the U.S. and Israel have been obliterating Syria for a while now. And where is, all right, I want to play this video of, this is the UN ambassador, U.S. ambassador to the UN. And here's what she wants you to know as she leaves. I think this was pretty recent, maybe even this week, but.
What I tell everyone is you can't prioritize crises, you can't prioritize conflict, and you cannot prioritize misery. And so in this last month of my tenure at the UN, I would like to leave a legacy that the US cares. It's the same thing I said at the beginning, that we care.
Applause line. The U.S. cares.
Mm-hmm.
They do. I don't know if she's lying there. The U.S. does care. The U.S. cares about having hegemony. The U.S. cares about owning the world. The U.S. cares about being able to extract whatever they want from wherever they want. So, not lying. Maybe for the first time in her career, not lying. There's a bit of truth there.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying the U.S. cares line had the same vibes of a boss making a speech before announcing layoffs.
Yes, it did. I just want you all to know that you mean a lot to us.
Exactly.
75% of you are getting fired right now, but don't let that change the understanding that you mean a lot.
Accomplished that over the past 4 years. The president instructed me to bring back multilateralism, bring back diplomacy at the UN, and bring back American leadership. And I think we accomplished that in spades.
What do you think? American leadership, diplomacy before bombing. She has accomplished that at the UN. I think so. Yeah, absolutely. The U.S. is just
even for a U.S. 4-year term. I mean, Biden's foreign policy legacy was, even on American standards, was absolutely terrible.
Oh my God, the number of people killed in just those 4 years. And then, of course, you add on the Trump and Obama years. It's millions of people dead. And this woman is celebrating, and she wants everybody to know that she cares, that we care, the U.S. cares, and just good people. By the way, this is the exact woman who has vetoed many efforts to get Palestinians rights or a state or anything.
And if there's anything that people say about me after I'm gone, I hope they say she respected us and she was kind. What?
Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to say.
I'm
sure not optimistic at all. That's what people are going to say.
I'm sure that'll be written in all the history books.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Aaron Mate put it pretty well about what's going on in Syria right now. He wrote, "No country's a monolith. Syrians are celebrating the fall of a repressive authoritarian government. Other Syrians, particularly from minority groups, are now living in fear or fleeing from the sectarian insurgents taking its place. The rebel leader, al-Jilani, is a former leader, founding leader, I didn't know that, of al-Qaeda in Syria, and former deputy to ISIS leader." Wow, this guy's gotten around, man. Mm-hmm. This guy, he's one of these like CEOs that's just brought in as a ringer to each corporation. And you're like, wait, you were at Disney, Exxon, and now you're at Nabisco? How does that work? This includes committed atrocities under his watch. This includes August 2013 massacres in Alawite areas of Latakia, which saw the systematic killing of entire families. An Amnesty International investigation found. One veteran New York Times correspondent reported the insurgents were devoted to sectarian mass murder. The same global compassion for Syrians who suffer under Assad should also extend to those Syrians now fearing new atrocities. That's especially the case for those of us whose governments have contributed to Syria's suffering. He says the aim of this regime change campaign was to cause enough misery in Syria so that his government imploded and its place in the axis of resistance was severed, which, is made up of Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, all those who are trying to fight for Palestinian freedom and a state and everything. After years of war, pillage, and economic strangulation, that collapse of Syria has finally happened. While one authoritarian system has collapsed, another one has succeeded. So yeah, I think celebration might be a bit short-lived. And here is, I know I talk a lot about the petrodollar. It is kind of a petrodollar adjacent as to why Syria would be so important to the US, even more so than other countries we like to collapse and coup, like Haiti or something. This shows where a new pipeline could go from Qatar. This also shows Qatar and perhaps Al Jazeera's interest in this, but could go from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Syria, Turkey, all the way up to Europe, and can even circumvent Iraq now. But I also think that part of this had to do with stopping possible pipelines from China, because Afghanistan shares a small border with China. So China could have a pipeline from Afghanistan through Iran and, Iraq. And then if they've got Syria willing to do it, then you basically have China could have pipelines and roads all the way from the Mediterranean to China. But anyway, just some of the wonderful things the U.S. cares about more than human lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, USA cares. Don't you fucking forget it. You little pieces of shit. Fuck you.
It's written on the flag.
Yeah.
All right, before I get this great clip of Bill Clinton, we're going to get Bill Clinton's take on what's going on in Palestine.
Finally.
Going on in Gaza. Because, he always gets it right. He got it right as president, and he gets it right now. I'm going to play that in just a second, but I want to let people know two things. One is a new episode of my new comedy podcast, Just Comedy, is out, episode 7. And in it, I tackle America's largest landlords, secrets about AFRICOM, top corporations supporting Israel. But it's all comedic, and I hope you'll check it out, everybody. It's free to listen to on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And it'd be great if you could rate it while you're there. Very, very important to pronounce that very clearly. Rate it.
Sure, yeah. Definitely. Yeah, what a promo this is.
Don't want to go through that one too quickly.
Yeah, never seen such an unnecessary derailment to promoting podcast.
You got to understand, unnecessary derailments are half my career, because
that's very true.
I get bored with whatever I'm talking about, so I have to go off in whatever other direction.
Well, all right, I didn't even think about that, but now I am thinking about that. Thank you. I will check out this podcast.
Say what you will. I think I scored a lot of listeners on that one.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's called Just Comedy. Check it out. But and then also the first performance. There's only 2 ever of this upcoming Zoom comedy hour, and the first one will be Wednesday, so that's 2 days from now. So grab your tickets, $5. Wednesday, December 11th. The second performance will be Saturday, December 14th. They're at different times. Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. But grab your tickets there, and openers will be John F. O'Donnell, Naomi Caravani, and Eleanor Goldfield. Do you see John and Naomi around in New York there?
I do. Yeah. Pretty free. John a little bit more so. But yeah, I see him around. The three Brooklyn comics running around the city here. So yeah.
Cool. Good. But yeah, grab your tickets. Was there something else I was going to say? Oh, Eleanor is going to perform a brand new song to open the show. Just written, first ever performance. So don't miss that either. And I'll be doing essentially a full new hour. I'll be talking about my trip to Tibet and many other stories. I'll also be talking about my never before told trip to Israel.
Ooh.
Yeah. Did not go well.
Oh.
Oh,
Hey, whoa, spoiler alert. Careful there.
That's at leecamp.simpletix.com, Tix.com, leecamp.simpletix.com. Okay, let's get I know you're eager to get to Bill Clinton. You keep telling me that.
I want to know how to feel, and I want to know what to think. Put them on.
This episode's BYOB. Bring your own Bill. So here he is. This is just the other day talking about Gaza, Palestine, and I'm sure what he's going to say is just so sympathetic and caring for the 43,000, but really 200,000 Gazans that have been murdered in this genocide. And here we go.
The 21st century. And when I tell the young people, for example, who are understandably in America, let's say they're super sympathetic with the Palestinians. Well, they've been killed. A lot of those Palestinians have, and they had no.
Just wanted to throw this in real quick. Who killed them? We don't know. Just they've been killed. People have been killed. Tough to say who did it. But let's keep going.
All they know is that a lot more Palestinians have been killed than Israelis. And I tell them what Arafat walked away from.
Oh my God.
And they can't believe it. I said, oh yeah, he walked away.
I'm going to keep playing it. But before we even analyze what Arafat walked away from, just imagine that you're witnessing a genocide, an execution, 48% or whatever the number is close to that of just children executed in this for 15 months. And you go, yeah, but 30 years ago,
yeah,
this decision was made. And again, I'm not even getting into what the decision was. We can talk about that in a second. But just 30 years ago, something happened. So what? They deserve genocide? Like, just that part is unhinged, fucking sociopathic.
Yeah. But remember my presidency, you guys? What about that?
Yeah, let's talk about me. But let's just finish this part.
From a Palestinian state with a capital in East Jerusalem, 96% of the West Bank, 4% of Israel, to make up for the 4% that the settlers occupy that were beyond the borders in the 67 war. And I go through all the stuff that was in the deal, and they it's not on their radar screen. They can't even imagine that happened. And I tell them, the first and most famous victim of an attempt to give the Palestinians a state was Prime Minister Rabin.
Anyway, this is utter bullshit. This is utter bullshit. This deal, not only is it like in 47, 48, all of this land, the first Nakba, is just given to the Jews in the area, was a tiny percentage. And a massive amount of land, like 55% of what is Israel, Palestine, Israel, West Bank, and Gaza, is just given away. And then you have the Nakba in order to cleanse the area. It's ethnic cleansing in order to clear the area, where tens of thousands are killed and 700,000 flee, become refugees. And imagine right after that, you're then told, oh, well, let's make a deal and we'll agree to everything that has completely destroyed your people. And it's utterly insane to then agree that that's fine. But beyond that, the deal also said Israel could do basically whatever the fuck they wanted. I mean, they could, you're giving up more land. They can come in whenever they want. They can't control their own water and things like that. They don't have a right of return. There's so many, the devil's in the details, but they're barely even details. I mean, the devil's in the deal. It was insane. And then they go, oh, well, they walked away from it. And even if that were true, so genocide is fine? Find a genocide. They walked away from a deal.
Exactly. I mean, you're completely right. Even if that was true, like, I'm imagining Bill Clinton, like, telling this to like a 3-year-old amputee in Gaza. Like, well, Yasser Arafat. It's just,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just so cruel.
And over 50% of everyone in Gaza before October 7th. I mean, even over 50% were under 18 even before October 7th. So that means most of the people there not alive during any of this, during anything he's talking about. And then people like to say, oh, well, they elected Hamas. The last Hamas election, I mean, again, you can't have a genocide just because people voted for something, but the last Hamas election was 2006. So again, most of the people too young to vote in that, but apparently it's fine to genocide them now. It's
like that's the same logic of Al-Qaeda, who we have established we are friends with. So maybe this all comes together more neatly than we expect.
Al-Qaeda's good buds, yes, BFFs. And it's just insane for this to be your response. By the way, this is his only response. The guy asks about what's going on. This is all Bill Clinton says, and then they go on to a new topic. And you're witnessing genocide for over a year, and you go, yeah, but in the 90s,
exactly,
it's idiotic at best. Like, the best credit you could give him is this is just idiocy. The worst is that he's a fucking psychopath. But
yeah,
it's just horrific. And then, of course, there's the fact that Israel was never going to allow two-state solution because, as I've mentioned many times, that the Palestinians get a state, then they get certain things under international law, the right to have a military. They get the right to come and go as they please, which Israel's not going to allow any of that. They have right of sovereignty over their own water supplies. Israel don't want to allow that. They'd have right to the ocean out for many miles out to open, international waters. Israel don't want to allow that. There's so many things Israel would never allow. So the idea that, oh yeah, Palestine really had it made, man, and they just walked away from it. Garbage. But
yeah, I mean, just to be asked a question about what's happening in Gaza today, and the first thing you say is Yasser Arafat, like, you should be embarrassed. Like, talk about a has-been, dude. Like, fucking get off the stage, dude. You got nothing to say.
That's like, what the U.S. did to Libya is just horrific. And you go, yeah, well, Richard Nixon.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me tell you what he did. Okay, so I'm going to move on to another clip. This I don't show them that often, but this is like 2 weeks in a row of the always amazing Joe Scarborough and Morning Joe, MSNBC. They're under a bit of a gun from their viewers because you have to remember who watches MSNBC. It is all liberals who believe that Trump is a nightmare, which I don't fault them for believing that, but they believe the Democrats are good guys who are really trying to do good things, which I do fault them for believing that because you are dum-dums. Yeah. So their Morning Joe's viewers are apparently furious, upset with them for going down to Mar-a-Lago. By the way, Morning Joe Scarborough used to be good friends with Trump. Mm-hmm. Then when he started criticizing him as president, they stopped being friends and Trump began to hate him. And now they're trying to get back in Trump's good graces because they realize their ratings are collapsing. MSNBC's ratings are collapsing. Joe Scarborough's ratings are collapsing. And they need Trump access in this next 4 years. They need Trump officials to be willing to come on the show, all that shit. So they go down to Mar-a-Lago and meet with Trump. Who knows what was said, but it was really a kissing of the ring moment. Mm-hmm. And their viewers are not happy. What do you mean you went and met with Trump, right? Because they're believing the bullshit that MSNBC has told him that Trump's the new Hitler. So therefore, why would you go meet with Hitler? And anyway, so Scarborough's starting to lose it. And you can tell in this, he's pretty gone. But here he is defending their decision to, again, become friends with Trump.
Two things. You can do two things at the same time.
Okay,
you can say
classic.
I should just leave it going at that speed and be like, dude, he was amped up. Too much coke.
Two things. You can do two things at the same time. You can say he had fascist rhetoric and still go in and talk to him.
Yeah.
You know why I do that? To get the read of the man. You know why I went in and talked to Macron? To get the read of the man at a crucial time in EU funding and NATO funding. You know why I went to leaders in the Middle East who were angry at the United States, and I sat there and I listened to them attacking me personally for 45 minutes because of U.S. policy? You know why I do that? To get the read of the leader, to get the read of where the country's going. So I can come back here and talk to you and let you.
Wow, what a charmer. The way he talks to his own audience, I can tell why they fall in love with him every day, again and again.
I'll keep playing in a second, but I love, like, are you going to convince anyone of anything when you're like, the reason I do this is for you? This is a straight up.
I'm going to yell at my fans.
This is a straight up slapping someone and saying, don't you know I love you?
Mm-hmm.
You made me do this.
I love, and two things can be true at once is like classic. That's the new, like, I'm losing an argument. Like, two things can be true at once. Trump can be a bad guy and I can be a bad guy. All right. Think about it.
And by the way, if anyone thinks I've got this up too loud, no, he's screaming.
Back here and talk to you and let you know what the hell is going on.
Context and
give you context, insight, and background. You know everybody we have on the show that's a reporter? It's what they do every day. They speak on background.
Listen, you fucking idiots.
It is just so amazingly unhinged on so many levels. And then the show, I also love that the show is made up of, look, Mika Brzezinski, I disagree with everything she's ever done. She is a right-winger who claims to be a Democrat. Her father is one of the architects of the entire U.S. hegemony, destruction of the world. So plenty of criticism. However, there's something about this guy talking over and yelling over his now wife through this entire, but they didn't start the show as husband and wife. It's like, wow. It's constantly offensive. Like, he never lets her speak, and she just sits there like she's still accomplished. She's not an idiot, and he just sits there and just rails over top of her, and that's just the show. Like that.
Yeah, this was just a continuation of their breakfast they had an hour before this.
But
he's like, honey, your face is red again, please.
But of course, I always like to get to the deeper levels of what's going on in these things. Obviously, this is, at the surface level, this is a vapid, soulless TV show host who is losing his ratings and is upset about it. But you dig a little deeper, and this is the kind of soulless liberal propaganda world. They've been feeding you lies endlessly ever since Trump was elected. Lies about everything, lies about Russiagate, lies about Donald Trump, even though I despise the man and he's disgusting and he's a megalomaniacal, narcissistic sexual predator, but they would still make up stuff beyond that. They make up Russiagate shit. They make up, Moscow golden shower tapes.
I forgot about that.
They make up all kinds of shit. And, and they also make up stuff that just protects the U.S. empire. They've been lying to you through the Biden administration too. Not just about Donald Trump, but about what the U.S. is doing, why they're doing it. We're talking about Syria. These guys manufactured the war on Syria that has continued via economic war, mostly for a decade, that has put 94% of all Syrians in poverty, and God knows how many it kills. When you have that many people in poverty, poverty kills. This is them. They're the face of that. So their worldview is kind of collapsing, and the ratings are collapsing, and they are now trying to shift to something else that's going to be somewhat more friendly to Trump, which is why they go meet with him. And this guy's, losing his mind because of all that. And I think that's kind of the deeper understanding as to why this guy is screaming at his viewers right now.
Yeah, it's like when your alcoholic dad had a really rough week at work, so when your dad comes home after he was belittled by his own boss, and where is he going to take it out on? He's going to take it out on you, the loyal viewer, who's done nothing wrong. You're watching his show. You're getting yelled at. What the hell is going on?
The other inside part of this, slight inside part of this, is apparently Mika Brzezinski ran into Rachel Maddow in the halls of MSNBC. These are the two top-rated shows, theirs and hers, I think. Although Maddow's not on as much as she used to be. But of course, MSNBC is collapsing. It's about to be sold as well by Comcast. And they apparently runs into her in the hall, and Rachel Maddow screams at her or heavily chastises her in the hall to the point that Mika Brzezinski's in tears or something for going to meet with Trump. So Rachel Maddow is representing the liberal America of how dare you go meet with Trump. And so this is also Joe Scarborough, her husband, railing at America because Maddow screamed at his wife. So there's a lot going on.
That is hilarious.
A lot going on at MSNBC. And again, MSNBC they're the media representation of the Democrats. And the reason the Democrats did not flip a single county across America, lost this election pretty easily, is because they don't actually stand for anything. Like, they act like they care about people, about workers, about the world, about democracy, about freedom. They don't stand for any of that when behind closed doors. So it's the same for this media that is trying to prop up those Democrats and trying to get them in office, which is what MSNBC is. And so all of it has been shown to be a charade. I mean, laughably, it's being shown by another man who's a con man. It's, Donald Trump has, kind of through his victory has revealed that people don't support the Democrats, at least not in a large way. And they didn't flip a single county, and every demographic group, they lost percentage points to Trump. But he, of course, is a con man in another regard, but it has revealed them to be soulless. And this is the media representation of that. So,
yeah, it's absolutely pathetic. And I don't know, if I was liberal or conservative, all I know is that I wouldn't want to be yelled at by a man wearing a sweater vest on my favorite TV show.
All I know is that guy screaming at me is not going to get me to tune in more.
Yeah, exactly. What is he thinking?
Okay, so let's this is back. We're going back to Israel here. This is Matthew Ho, who I might be having on the show soon. He's been very busy. I played a clip of him last week in Israel. He filmed a clip. He went to the border with Gaza, talked about how horrific it was. Many of you may remember that clip because he talks about how a school trip of Israeli kids, like teenagers, showed up in a bus to watch from an observation platform and cheer on the genocide. Truly sick shit. Matthew Ho is a great guy, in many ways a whistleblower, quit the State Department because of the horror show that the U.S. was involved in. And anyway, this is him on Judge Napolitano's show talking about Israel's economy and how it's doing.
I can't wait for this.
And I am going to not play that at 1.7 speed.
What is your impression of the Israeli economy today from the time you just spent there?
It's in really bad shape. I think we've talked about this before, Judge. The numbers, in a sense of seeing the money leaving the country, the foreign investment not going into it, the 40,000 plus businesses have closed. One of the four major ports in Israel going bankrupt. Those types of things, but. Just saw other numbers, almost 35% decrease in imports and a similar decrease in exports in the last year. The numbers themselves show that Israel is in a perilous position. But there's a huge caveat to that, and I'll get to in a moment. And we can go on with, different points. But the one caveat I want to mention, Judge, is, well, how is Israel surviving? How are they going to get by on this? And that's because of the United States loan guarantee. And the fact that the United States is a guarantor of Israeli debt. And so since last year, in the last 13 months, you've seen a 300 to maybe 300 or 400% increase in the amount of debt, the amount of bonds that Israel has issued. And you say, who's buying these things? Why would they be buying them, knowing the reality of the economic situation, the military situation, the political situation for Israel? Well, it's because these bonds, this debt is backed by the United States. We guarantee it. So it'd be like you or I getting a mortgage and having Elon Musk co-signing with us. And this is essentially where the Israelis come back on, why they're willing to go the way they are, why they're willing to allow themselves to be isolated by the world, to hurt themselves economically, to overextend, exhaust their military, to cause their own political chaos, friction. You know, people talk about civil war. I don't think it'll get to that point, but it's also something that you just can't dismiss outright. And the point is that they can do it because the United States is going to continue to back them financially and be that guarantor, be that co-signer for them going forward.
Yeah, so Israeli economy not doing well, but they have the U.S. obviously pumping money into it. I had covered the 40,000 businesses that have gone bankrupt, but it's actually far more than that because the study said 40,000 as of, I think, July or early August. And they're estimating 63,000 bankrupt Israeli businesses by the end of the year. So we're getting close to the end of the year. So it's really probably more like 60,000 bankrupt businesses. The ports going out of business. The economy is really collapsing in a big way. But like he said, Israel's got the U.S. funding them. And meanwhile, cities across the United States does not have the U.S. funding them.
Yeah.
Well,
there's no such thing as a free genocide. That's capitalism 101. But yeah, to see how committed we are to this unconditionally and where we're careening towards, it's really terrifying.
Yeah, it is terrifying. I mean, there is a hope that shit gets so bad for Israel that they can't continue genocide. Genocide gets too expensive. Like, I guess that's the hope. But as we've seen with Syria, Israel and the United States are trying to bring down any countries that could pose a resistance to their ongoing genocide. And by the way, I covered this on the show last week. Even mainstream human rights organizations, including Amnesty International, as of a week ago, call this genocide. Like, this is not some indie outlet thing anymore. Really, it's everybody except the U.S. media or Western media and the U.S. government and, the British government.
Yeah, even Wikipedia recently, after much debate, they listed it as a genocide.
Is that in an entry called the Gaza genocide, or
it is? They recently, I think it was like maybe 2 weeks ago, after like a long debate with the editors, it's now listed as a genocide.
Interesting. I can't wait to see the U.S. State Department take over Wikipedia soon and undo that.
Screenshot it while you can, folks.
But yeah, so hopefully we'll have Matthew Ho on the show soon. By the way, that makes me, since Matthew Ho is also ex-military, I think that a lot of people in the U.S. military, or some of the bravest ones, they get over there and they realize what it actually is and what they need to be involved in, and it changes them. And Matthew Ho is definitely one of those. But speaking of that, for those who missed it, last week I talked to Daniel Hale, the whistleblower who revealed the details of the U.S. drone killing program, revealed such pivotal facts as the fact that 90% of all U.S. drones that drop bombs kill innocent people instead of the so-called target. That's if the target were a legit target to begin with, but of course most of the targets are targeted for pre-crime, so I don't know how legitimate that is. And anyway, I talked to him last week. It was his first interview since being released from prison, and that is over at youtube.com/SYRIA at Real Lee Camp or youtube.com/moment of clarity. You can go watch it there. And also Fridays are now members only. So there was a members only episode Friday you can check out for anybody who's a member of Locals or Patreon, patreon.com/Lee Camp and leecamp.net. But okay, I want to get to the last story here, and we'll do something pretty positive, kind of, sort of positive. Are you ready for kind of, sort of positive?
I'm skeptical, but I'm ready.
This is, well, I'm gonna start reading about it as I play the video. This is a project of unfathomable scale that has been completed in China. This is being posted by Arnaud Bertrand on Twitter. China has just finished constructing a continuous 3,000 kilometer, almost 1,200 mile green barrier made of plants and trees, completely encircling the Taklamakan, I think, desert, the world's second largest shifting sand desert, which is about the size of Germany. So this is a desert that moves because of the winds. It is steadily like growing or moving towards other cities. And he says, this is like building a living wall of plants from Paris to Istanbul, or from Los Angeles to Chicago, except they built it in one of the world's most inhospitable environments. They spent over 40 years building this green wall. The final 285 kilometers was completed in November of this year. They built the wall with desert hardy plants like desert poplar, saxaulua, can't pronounce that, salt cedar, and as well as salt cedar, along with innovative sand control engineering and solar panel installations. The objective of the project is to contain the desert's expansion so it stops moving towards growing and moving towards other cities, to protect surrounding agricultural areas and cities from sandstorms. Before this project, many towns in the region had to be relocated multiple times due to encroaching sand. For instance, the town of Kira in Xinjiang had to move. Oh, is that pronounced Chira? Yeah, anyway. Moved 3 times in its history, with sand dunes once approaching as close as 1.5 kilometers from the town center. This is easily one of human history's most ambitious and grandest ecological engineering projects ever. And he concludes by saying, it's also insane how little attention this receives globally. Sadly, we've apparently lost the capacity to be impressed by such a project, let alone have the boldness of vision to conceive of one ourselves, all resulting in the fact that whilst China is is out there completing 40-year missions to tame entire deserts, we can barely fix potholes in our roads. And
you said it was China behind this. I just want to make sure we're talking about China right now. Well, I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm gonna find a way to be suspicious about this.
I mean, it's quite possible they did it by executing capitalists and pouring their bodies into the sand desert. I think that might have been it.
You said they're planting trees. Are they Chinese trees? Sorry, I can't.
Can't keep that going.
I lost the guy.
Can't keep that going. Well, I'll tell you what, there was Chinese trees that were planting. I'll pick it up where you left off.
There you go. Thank you.
But to me, it just pinpoints like how insane it is that the U.S. can't do like anything even remotely like this. The longest project the United States, other than destroying Syria, that the United States will be involved in will be like a year to build a new shopping mall. Like it's never. There are no 20-year, we're going to make this city better. The longest project I can remember in recent years was Elon Musk putting a stupid tunnel in Las Vegas that went from a convention center to like a IHOP on Route 3 or something. Like, there's no grand plan for the United States outside of destroying other people's countries.
Did China invent tunnels? No, Lee. Elon Musk invented tunnels.
He did come up with tunnels. That's actually absolutely true. But yes, this is pretty unfathomable. Also, the fact that you can't even like hear about this, like we can't even get a goddamn news story, like, one little 3-minute thing on CNN because
Exactly. I mean, this is insane. The size of Germany, I can't wrap my head around it.
can't say anything positive about China. So therefore, even when China does something amazing that could be useful for other countries, like there's other countries with deserts, maybe they could be learning from this or trying it and shit like that. We're like, nope, it didn't happen. We're just hand in front of the eyes. No. We can't even, we're so advanced, we don't even see infrastructure projects in China anymore.
Yeah.
They also, like the other things China's done recently, like creating, they found a blood test for cancer that's like really reliable, and we're just like ignoring it. During COVID, they built COVID specific hospitals in like one hospital was built in like a week. It's just,
Yeah, our healthcare industry has been through enough this week, Lee.
That's true.
You don't got to bring up stuff like that. That's very insensitive of you.
That's true. And it's just the fact that the U.S. can't even, the U.S. doesn't even give a shit about their people. Like, there's no, why would you do something like this if if you don't care about the humans that live here? Like, why would you ever? And there's no real profit in it. They like, maybe there's profit in like 40 years from now, not having the desert take over your cities, but the U.S. needs to get profit. The only way the U.S. could do this is if they charge like a toll for everybody in the country to pay, and they sold the toll money to Saudi Arabia. So every time you didn't have a sandstorm, you'd owe $100 to Saudi Arabia or something.
Exactly.
Maybe.
The only way our government would do it is if they contracted it to Elon Musk to do it with rocket ships somehow.
No, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars, so that means he wants deserts because that's what Mars is. So
Exactly.
he's going to be quite happy there.
Exactly.
I just posted the other day that actually I'm in agreement with me and Elon Musk believe similar things. He believes in order to save humanity, we have to go to Mars. I believe in order to save humanity, he has to go to Mars. So
yeah, there you go.
Pretty similar. Okay, we're going to wrap up there, but these live streams are 4 days a week, with Fridays being members only. That's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Joffrey, you want to let everybody know where you'll be?
Just you can follow me on Instagram or TikTok. That's where I'm most active in terms of content. Just search Joffrey Khan. And if you live in New York, come see me. I'm doing stand-up pretty much every night of the week.
Okay. See you. Thanks a lot, Joffrey. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Later, y'all.
And I have another Zoom comedy event coming up. Coming up Wednesday is the first performance, Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So there's no live stream on Wednesdays, so you won't be missing a live stream because of it. But Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, and grab your $5 tickets. It is, if you're wondering what it is and you haven't heard that I do these, this is the fourth one. The last ones have been awesome. It's a lot of fun. If you're wondering what the hell it is me straight to camera doing a new hour of stand-up comedy, carefully crafted and put together for your viewing enjoyment. And there will be openers: John F. O'Donnell, Naomi Caravani, Eleanor Goldfield. Eleanor Goldfield will be performing a brand new song, never before performed, just written recently. And John will be doing new comedy. Naomi will be doing new comedy. You know both of them from Redacted Tonight. And I will be doing a new hour, over an hour. And I will be talking a little bit about my trip to Tibet. I will also be talking about my trip to Israel and how insane that was, which I have never really talked about or done comedy about. So, and much more. And it's $5. So, and I also have offered that if you hate it, I will refund your money. So it's a win-win. You have nothing to lose. If you come and you hate the show, you have nothing to lose. So that's at leecamp.simpletix.com, T-I-X, leecamp.simpletix.com. And a special offer for the next 20 people that join at leecamp.net or Patreon, you will get a free ticket to the Zoom comedy event. So you will get both. You will become a member of leecamp.net and you will get a free ticket to the Zoom comedy event. Those 20 tickets are being funded by Truth to Tweet. So thank you so much, Truth to Tweet, who has made that generous offer. And yeah, so if you become a member at leecamp.net, when you get to leecamp.net, scroll down to become a subscriber, or patreon.com/leecamp. The first 20 will get a free ticket to the Zoom comedy event, either Wednesday or Friday, whichever one you want, free ticket. And thank you, Sensei. Sensei says they got they got their ticket. And it's only 2 days away, the first performance. And the second one's 5 days? And I will see you there. I'll also see you on the live stream tomorrow. So thanks again. Keep fighting. Check out Just Comedy, the podcast, my new podcast, Just Comedy. Please give it a rating and keep fighting.
Well, brother, I salute you, though, man. You're one of the few that bring together this tremendous artistic talent and still be in such deep solidarity with oppressed people.
It's an honor to be here because I'll tell you, Lee, you have one of the funniest shows on television, bar none.
It's an enormous pleasure to be here. While I was waiting, I was leafing through your wonderful book.
The same to you. I love your show. Be happy to come back anytime.
Lee, this is one of the great honors of my long career, just to be in the same earth with you.
I'm sure.
We're just so blinded. We have so many blinders on because our society doesn't want us to know things. And so it takes shows like your show, and
it is clearly designed to eradicate.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Jill, how are you? Julian, thanks for joining me. Honor to have you, brother.
Consumerism is a theory that people should behave this way to help each other. It's not.
Mr. George Galloway, thank you so much for joining me in these dark times.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. Keep fighting. Ha ha.